All right, you can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karishma Gangaram, and together with my teammates Kalissa, Zaida Ali, and Jonathan Brooks, we are pleased to present our discussion on Chapter 9, Being in Communities, from Exploring Leadership by Kimovs and colleagues. Our presentation focuses on how leadership and community are deeply interconnected, exploring how effective communities are built and sustained, the ethical principles that guides them, and how modern technology continues to shape the way leaders connect and inspire others in today's world. In particular, the concept of community, in particular, today we will look at the concept of community in leadership, the elements of effective communities, how communities develop and evolve, different types of communities, how leaders build and sustain supportive groups, and finally, the challenges and opportunities in modern communities. Now, let's begin by exploring the concept of community and what it means in the context of leadership. Kimov et al. Defines a community as a social group that not only shares an identity and structured pattern of interaction, but also a common geographical territory. However, they emphasize that community is more than just a physical space. It is also an attitude of connection, belonging, and moral commitment to others. Um, sorry, Jonathan, you went a little too far. Can you go back to the first slide with communities with the definition on it, please?
It's on it there, you know. All right, there we go.
In leadership, community matters because it forms the foundation for collaboration, trust, and ethical responsibility. When people feel genuinely connected, they are more likely to cooperate, solve problems ethically, and support one another in achieving shared goals. In short, leadership does not happen in isolation. It flourishes within strong, caring communities where relationships and purpose are valued as much as outcomes. Now that we understand what community means and why it's important for leadership, let's look at how the idea of traditional now let's look at the idea of traditional and modern communities. Traditional communities were based on geographic closeness and shared culture. People interacted daily in places like villages, churches, and neighborhoods. Goodman's definition reflects this. Communities were social groups united by common territory, traditions, and interaction patterns. These traditional communities were often homogeneous, meaning members tended to look alike or think alike. They usually share the same religion, ethnicity, or social norms which created stability and trust, but also limited diversity and creativity. For example, a small rural town may share strong values and close relationships, but it can struggle to accept outsiders or adapt to change. Leadership in these communities were often positional, relying on elders or authority figures to maintain harmony rather than encouraging inclusive dialogue. While traditional communities offered connection and structure, they also reveal the need for more inclusive and adaptable understanding of community, which brings us to the modern view. Next slide, please. In today's world, communities no longer depend on physical location. Modern communities form around shared identities, interests, or goals, and often exist virtually through technology. Kimov et al. Explains that the term community now describes those with common identity and interaction, but without geographic proximity. Examples include professional associations like the medical community, student organizations, or global online networks where people collaborate despite distance. Modern communities are diverse, flexible, and inclusive. They connect people from various cultures and backgrounds, fostering collaboration and empathy across borders. As Goody Kunst noted, cultural and ethnic diversity and all other forms of diversity are necessary resources for building community. However, this inclusivity also brings challenges, such as maintaining authenticity and empathy online, preventing misinformation, and addressing digital inequality. Ethical leadership is essential in modern communities. Leaders must model respectful communication, promote digital ethics, and ensure that technology strengthens rather than divides human connection. Whether traditional or modern, every community needs certain elements to thrive. Let's look at the characteristics that make a community truly effective. John Gardner identified 8 key features that define successful communities. Number 1, wholeness incorporating diversity. That is embracing differences in people's experiences, cultures, and ideas. Number 2, a shared culture, common values and traditions that unify members. 3, good internal communication, that is open, honest, and respectful dialogue. Number 4, caring, trust, and teamwork, supporting one another and collaborating ethically. 5, group maintenance and governance, ensuring fairness, inclusion, and accountability. Participation and shared leadership. Everyone contributes. Leadership is viewed as a process, not a position. Number 7, development of new members, mentoring and preparing future leaders. Links with the outside world, staying open and connected to broader networks and perspectives. In simpler terms, effective communities embrace diversity, communicate openly, and operate with trust and teamwork. They encourage participation and share leadership, where everyone's contribution matters and they maintain strong connections to the world beyond their immediate group. In leadership terms, this means that leaders don't simply give directions, they create environments where fairness, inclusion, and cooperation can thrive. Kimov et al. Highlights this same idea, noting that Communities accomplish their goals through trust and teamwork. That is really the heart of ethical leadership. People working together in an atmosphere of respect, support, and shared purpose. A powerful example from the text is Denise's committee. Denise fell ill and missed a meeting. Her peers noticed her absence, checked in on her, and continued her work so she wouldn't fall behind. This small act demonstrates the essence of Gardner's model: care, trust, and collaboration. For leaders, the lesson is clear. Strong communities are built on relationships, not authority. By valuing diversity, encouraging participation, and fostering open communication, leaders help communities reach their highest potential. Now that we understand what makes communities effective, let's explore the development of communities. M. Scott Peck described four stages of community development that groups naturally progress through. Number one, pseudo community. Everyone appears polite and avoids real conflict. Members try to maintain peace, but differences remain hidden. Chaos. Differences and tensions surface, people expressing strong opinions and agreements, and disagreements become visible. Peck reminds us that fighting is better than pretending you are not divided. Emptiness. Members let go of ego, bias, and control, creating space for understanding, empathy, and a shared purpose. Number four, authentic community. The group reaches genuine trust, honesty, and acceptance. Conflict may still occur, but it is handled openly and respectfully. Effective leaders play a key role in guiding groups through these stages, encouraging respectful communication, mediating conflict, and modeling empathy and fairness. Peck's model shows that authentic communities aren't perfect, they're honest. Through openness and ethical dialogue, leaders help communities grow stronger together. Once a community achieves authenticity, it must maintain it through ethical behavior and mutual respect. That is where Goodycon's principle of community building comes in. Once a community has reached authenticity, it needs to be sustained. William Goodycons has Chemovs et al. Cited in Chemovs et al. 7 key principles that help communities remain strong, respectful, and united. First, be committed. Show dedication to the well being of others and the shared purpose of the group. Number two, be mindful. Think carefully about your words and actions, focusing on the process, not just the outcome. Number three, be unconditionally accepting. Respect people as they are without bias or prejudice. Number four, be concerned for self and others. Balance care for yourself with empathy and accountability for others. Number five, be understanding. Listen deeply to truly comprehend different perspectives. Number six, be ethical. Act with honesty, integrity, and fairness, even when it's difficult. Number seven, be peaceful. Promote harmony, honesty, and nonviolence in relationships. In leadership, these principles turn authority into service. Picture a workplace where a supervisor listens actively, treats everyone fairly, and resolves conflict calmly. That's Godicon's model in action. Leaders who practice these principles don't lead through control, they lead through care, empathy, and ethical example. These values directly align with the relational leadership model, which emphasizes being purposeful, inclusive, empowering, ethical, and process oriented. Such leaders focus on how things are done, not just what is achieved, ensuring that everyone feels respected, and involved in the process. Another example is Dawn Roberts' reflections on leadership at Gulf Coast Community College. She described how open communication between students and administrators builds a supportive campus culture based on caring, fairness, and cooperation. This illustrates Goodicon's principles in practice, particularly mindfulness, commitment, and peace. Ultimately, these principles remind us that community building is a continuous ethical process. Strong communities don't happen by chance. They grow when leaders intentionally model respect, understanding, and integrity in every action. By following Goodicon's guidance, leaders create safe, inclusive spaces where people feel valued, empowered, and are able to collaborate effectively. To summarize, community gives leadership its foundation. Without relationships, there is no leadership. Gardner's elements describe what healthy functional communities look like. Peck stages explain how communities grow and mature through shared challenges. Goodicon's principles help sustain those communities ethically and peacefully. Together, they reveal that community and leadership are inseparable. Effective leaders don't just manage people, they build connection, foster trust, and promote shared purpose. As Kimov et al. Emphasizes, relational leadership flourishes when communities value care, inclusion, and collaboration. Thank you for listening. I'll now hand over to my teammate, Calissa, who will continue with the presentation.
Okay, so good day everyone. I'm Kalasa Lididi and I'll begin by discussing the different types of communities and how they function in leadership and social settings. So according to Camus, Lucas, and McMahon, communities come in many forms, but they all rely on trust, shared values, and connection. First, we have traditional communities. Traditional communities are based on face to face interaction and shared values. Members are often connected by location, relationships, or culture. Gardner noted that effective communities share trust, teamwork, and participation. Traditional views once saw communities as homogeneous, but modern understanding values diversity as essential for resilience and change. These traditional communities, which are built on face to face relationships and shared culture, rely on teamwork and participation. For example, a neighborhood watch group or a hospital department where radiographers can collaborate daily to ensure patient safety. Next, online communities. With technology, communities now form through electronic networks such as chat rooms, blogs, and online discussion groups. These online communities link people across the globe into selective communities in which minds meet. For instance, A group of students can use an online forum just like this to share resources. This shows how virtual spaces can create real bonds. We also have communities of practice. These are groups where people share common activity or profession, such as study groups or workplace teams. They promote learning, identification, and satisfaction through shared goals. Effective communities of practice have trust, inclusion in decision making, and mutual support. These are professional or learning groups where members grow by sharing their experiences, like students working together on case studies. On a college level, campus communities can act as small societies made up of students, faculty, and staff. A great example is that of student government, where people unite to represent student voices and promote inclusion. Finally, global communities, which cross national boundaries. Communities now extend beyond national boundaries. Most states that identifying common interests and broadening relationships will define 21st century communities. So organizations like Doctors Without Borders can connect professionals worldwide to solve global health challenges. So in simple terms, whether a community is local, online, or global, the strength the strength of that community lies in trust, diversity, and a shared purpose. Now that we understand the different types of communities, let's look at what actually holds these communities together, something known as social capital. Social capital refers to networks, trust, relationships, and shared norms that allow people to work together effectively for a common purpose. It is known as the invisible glue that holds communities together. It's made up of trust, networks, and relationships that allow people to work together effectively for a shared goal. Cummings, Lucas, and McMahon describe it as the foundation of cooperation and civic engagement. When this is strong, people help each other more and solve problems together. So there are two main forms of social capital: bonding social capital and bridging social capital. Bonding social capital builds strong relationships among people who are alike in important ways, such as they share culture, they share backgrounds or interests. It promotes a sense of belonging and supports within smaller and close-knit groups. So, in bonding social capital, you could build close relationships among people who are basically similar. So, think of it like a study group where students of the same program can help each other prepare for exams. Bridging social capital connects people from different backgrounds or communities, creating broader networks that promote inclusion and diversity. This builds understanding, tolerance, and cooperation across boundaries. So, bridging social capital, on the other hand, would connect people from different backgrounds, such as a college volunteer club where you get senior citizens. So, you may think, why is social capital valuable? Social capital is valuable because it encourages civic engagement. It builds trust and reduces conflict. For example, when team members trust each other in a specific department, patient care becomes safer and more effective. It also improves communication promotes ethical responsibility, and increases community resilience. As we would have experienced during COVID-19, where students and universities would have created online support networks so that we could help one another. So essentially, social capital helps communities not just exist but thrive through shared trust, cooperation, and ethical relationships. Strong social capital also connects directly to how leadership develops within a community. Which brings us to the next point: leadership identity and the strategies leaders use to build and sustain communities. Leadership identity develops through shared leadership and collaboration. It grows when people move from doing tasks alone, alone to working with others and recognizing themselves as a part of a larger group. College is a key time for students to develop leadership capacity through self awareness, reflection, and involvement in communities. It is about seeing oneself as a part of shared leadership processes, not just as a leader, but as someone who collaborates and empowers others. According to Kameeves et al., leadership develops through reflection, teamwork, and community involvement, especially during college years when students begin shaping their leadership capacity. There are four main strategies leaders can use. First, shared responsibility. When everyone contributes ideas and tasks, commitment grows. For instance, a club leader who delegates event planning helps members feel ownership. Second, ethical leadership. Acting with fairness and integrity builds trust and long-term success. Like a student leader who handles club's funds transparently. Third, renewal and inclusion. Gardner notes that communities stay alive by reinterpreting their values and encouraging growth. For example, revising diversity policies or introducing inclusion workshops keeps a campus community relevant. And fourth, appreciative inquiry. The discover, dream, design, and deliver model, where leaders focus on what works well instead of what's wrong. For example, expanding a successful tutoring program based on student feedback. So, in short, effective leaders build communities by sharing responsibility, leading ethically, and continuously renewing the group's purpose. However, even with strong leadership, building and maintaining communities comes with real challenges. Let's explore some of those challenges and how leaders can overcome them. Camille Lucas and McMahon identify several key challenges that communities face: balancing diversity, managing change, maintaining trust, and ensuring accountability. Balancing unity and diversity. Diverse perspectives can lead to conflict, so leaders must ensure everyone feels respected while maintaining shared purpose. Diversity can be a strength, but it can also cause disagreement if not managed well. For example, in a multicultural college club, members may prefer different event themes. In this case, a leader can promote inclusion by rotating cultural focuses each semester. The best strategy here is open discussion and shared decision making to ensure everyone feels heard. Resistance to change. Communities may become comfortable with their status quo. Communities can grow comfortable within the status quo, such as an organization resisting new technology. Using appreciative inquiry, leaders can highlight the benefits of change and celebrate small wins to encourage progress. Maintaining trust and participation. Low trust or poor communication weakens engagement. When communication is weak, people lose motivation. For example, if leaders don't update members about projects, the engagement in the group will drop. The solution is simple: be transparent, follow through on promises, and create regular opportunities for members to participate. Balancing autonomy and accountability. Members need freedom to lead, but also responsibility to the community's values. To take initiative, but also a sense of responsibility to the group's shared values, members would need freedom. For instance, a volunteer team might manage their own projects but report monthly to ensure alignment with the organization's goals. Leaders can support this balance by setting clear expectations while encouraging independence. In short, communities thrive when leaders promote inclusion, communication, flexibility, and accountability. To conclude, we've seen that strong communities, whether traditional, online, or global, they rely on trust, social capital, and ethical leadership. When challenges arise, effective, effective leaders use inclusion, communication, and renewal to keep communities united and growing. Leadership and community are deeply connected. Communities give leaders purpose, and leaders give communities direction. When we build relationships based on trust, cooperation, and shared values, that's when true ethical leadership takes place. Thank you, and I will now hand you over to my teammates Jonathan to continue the presentation.
Afternoon, class. I am Jonathan Brooks, and I am going to be introducing to you ethical leadership, technology, and modern communities. Let's begin by examining how technology and digital platforms have transformed the way communities form, connect, and collaborate. In the past, communities were defined by geography, your neighborhood, your school, or your workplace. But today, we can belong to communities that exist entirely online. Whether it's a group chat for a project, a fan community, or the social media, or a global network of professionals, technology has allowed us to connect beyond physical boundaries. There are three major positive impacts of this. Number one, easier communication. Digital platforms break down barriers of time and distance. Tools like WhatsApp, Zoom, and Discord make collaboration instant and accessible. People can share ideas, solve problems, and build friendships across continents. Number two, inclusivity. Online spaces often give a voice to those who might be marginalized in traditional settings. Someone who might be shy in person can express themselves confidently online. Social media campaigns like those for disability awareness, mental health, or gender equality have given power to voices that were once unheard. Number three, global reach. Technology has made it possible for local initiatives to gain global attention. A small environmental cleanup in one town can inspire others worldwide when shared online. This global visibility has turned ordinary people into change makers. However, this digital expansion also raises serious ethical concerns. Challenges like misinformation, digital divide, and privacy. False information spreads faster than facts. One viral post can mislead millions. Ethical leadership online means verifying before sharing, promoting digital literacy, and calling out misinformation respectfully. Not everyone has equal access to technology or reliable internet. This creates inequality in education, opportunity, and participation. Ethical communities must work toward digital inclusion, ensuring everyone can benefit from digital resources. Many people share personal data online without realizing its value or vulnerability. Ethical behavior in digital spaces means respecting others' privacy, safeguarding data, and using information responsibly. Leaders in digital communities must encourage responsible online behavior, not just by rules but by example. They model digital ethics, kindness, and respect in how they post, comment, and interact. A true digital leader understands that online behavior is real behavior, with real consequences for trust, reputation, and emotional well-being. So technology can either build or break communities depending on how we use it. Now that we've explored how digital platforms shape modern communities, let's connect that to a broader idea: global citizenship. We live in an interconnected world. What happens in one country, whether it's a natural disaster, a social movement, or an innovation, can affect the entire planet. That's why community leadership today must be seen not just locally, but globally. Local leadership is the foundation of global change. Every community, no matter how small, is part of the global network. When leaders practice fairness, inclusion, and responsibility in their communities, those values ripple outward. For example, a local youth group that promotes recycling contributes to global sustainability. A student who volunteers locally develops the empathy needed for global citizenship. Or a teacher who encourages cultural respect in a classroom promotes peace at a global level. Global citizenship begins with understanding and respecting cultural diversity. We live among people of different backgrounds, religions, and beliefs. Intercultural understandings mean we don't just tolerate differences, we learn from them and accept them. Ethical leaders foster this by listening before judging, celebrating differences rather than fearing them, and building dialogue between groups that might not usually interact. When communities learn to bridge differences locally, it reduces global conflict and fosters unity. Ethical leadership also requires awareness of global issues like climate change, poverty, human rights, and sustainability. Leaders must help their communities understand that ethical choices at home, such as reducing waste or supporting fair trade, can influence global systems. To be a global citizen, you don't have to travel the world. You have to act with awareness that your decisions, no matter how small, have global consequences. So ask yourself, how does your local community connect to the global world? And what can you do to make that connection more ethical, inclusive, and sustainable? That awareness is the beginning of true global citizenship. So far, we've discussed ideas and principles. Now let's look at how ethical leadership appears in real-world settings and what lessons we can draw for them. Some examples of this include a local activist fostering environmental responsibility, Consider a young activist organizing beach cleanups, tree planting drives, or community recycling programs. Ethical leadership here means taking initiative, motivating others, and modeling consistency. The goal isn't fame, it's service. Another way is a company leader building a culture of ethics and respect. In the workplace, ethical leadership means transparency and integrity. A manager who treats employees fairly, gives credit when it's due, and upholds honesty creates a workplace where people feel safe and motivated. Ethics in business isn't just about compliance, it's about trust. Some core lessons you can learn from ethical leadership are: one, trust. Trust is a foundation of all ethical leadership. It's built over time through consistency and honesty. When people trust the leader, they follow not out of fear, but respect. Two, integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Ethical leaders uphold their values even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. Three, service. Leadership isn't about power, it's about service. True leaders use their position to uplift others, solve problems, and improve lives. Courage and accountability. Ethical leaders are not afraid to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult. They also take responsibility for mistakes and learn from them. Community, why ethical leadership matters. Communities thrive when they are guided by ethical principles. Without ethics, leadership can easily become about control and manipulation or self-interest. But with ethics, leadership becomes transformational. It inspires others to act with compassion and responsibility. When we see ethical leaders in action, we realize that anyone can make a difference through small acts of honesty, respect, and service. Personal reflection and application. Ethical leadership begins not in a position or title, but in personal reflection. Before leading others, you must understand how you lead yourself. Think about the different communities you belong to, your classroom, workplace, or online spaces, and ask yourself, how do you contribute to a respectful and supportive environment? Do your online interactions reflect the same values you uphold offline? And when you disagree with someone, do you respond with empathy or hostility? Ethical leadership is lived through everyday choices. Here are a few ways you can put ethical leadership into practice. In the classroom, you should treat classmates with respect, especially those with different opinions. Collaborate fairly, share credit, and help others succeed. In the workplace, you can be reliable, honest, and considerate. Uphold integrity even when it's hard, like admitting a mistake instead of covering it up. Online, you should use your digital presence to uplift, not tear down. Think before posting and promote kindness in comment sections or group chats. In the community, you should volunteer, support local causes, or simply check in on neighbors. Leadership can be as small as showing compassion. Self-reflection is not self-criticism. It's a way to grow. Ethical leaders regularly ask, what did you do well today? Where can you improve? And how can you make your community stronger through your actions? Create self-reflection as a leadership habit, not self-criticism. When you reflect, you become more aware of how your values guide your behavior. Over time, this awareness strengthens your character and deepens your connection to others. You don't need a formal title to be a leader. Leadership is influence. Whether you're mentoring a peer, raising awareness for a cause, or simply leading by example, you are shaping the ethical tone of your community. You can build trust and empathy online by being respectful, honest, and mindful of your words. Instead of spreading negativity or misinformation, we can use digital spaces to support others, share accurate information, and listen to different perspectives. Trust grows when people feel safe and valued, even behind a screen. I will now hand you over back to Karishma.
So our group prepared a little activity and we are asking for participation from the class. So can you go to the next slide, please, Jonathan? So traditional communities are mostly based on, can anyone answer? Okay, so it
It's like
is
they wasn't
based on
listening.
C, geographic cultural closeness. And now I will hand you over to Calissa for her question.
Okay, so according to Camille Lucas and McMahon, what is social capital often described as in a community? Anybody would like to answer?
I could try. I think the answer is B, the invisible glue that holds the communities together through trust and relationships.
Correct. I did mention that when I was presenting.
How can we use technology not just to connect with others, but to truly build trust and empathy in our online communities? Anybody want to volunteer?
Next slide, please, Jonathan.
How can we use technology not just to connect with others, but to truly build trust and empathy in our online communities? Anybody want to volunteer?
To D, promote respectful communication and active listening in digital interactions.
You could repeat, please?
Say D.
Yes, that's correct. Thanks. To wrap up, the ideas we explored today reminds us that understanding and ethical action go hand in hand. Let's continue to apply these principles in our daily lives and communities. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation has offered some meaningful insights and encouraged you to think more deeply. As we move forward, let's remember that change begins with awareness and leadership begins with responsibility. Thank you again for listening, and I hope this inspires you to make a positive impact.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.